Hey everyone, and welcome to Sasquatch Theory. In this two-part episode, I interview Greg, who had a brief encounter with an unknown creature in Hillsboro, Illinois, and our second interview is with a gentleman named Charlie. I'm going to apologize in advance for the bad audio, and sometimes I can't help what type of phone and service other people have, and also if my phone gets bad service. We just have to keep in mind a lot of the people that I'm calling don't live in the city, and a lot of people live out in the country or way out in the sticks. I also want to make sure everyone knew everything was okay. I got a lot of emails and phone calls from people after I canceled the membership. It was really cutting into my weekends and personal time, so I figured I would just focus on the regular channel, and I think that's what everyone wants. But anyways, I appreciate everyone for watching, and if you're new to the channel, please like and subscribe for more Sasquatch encounters. Greg, welcome to Sasquatch Theory. How are you doing today, sir?
Doing great, sir.
Good. Greg, if you would, tell us a little bit about yourself, where all these encounters took place, and just guide me through each encounter one after another, please.
My name's Greg Harris. I'm a retired plumber. I have 3 kids, divorced. I have a girlfriend of fiance basically for 10 years. I live in Evansville, Indiana now. At the time this happened, I lived in Hillsboro, Illinois, which was, the woods is actually a Coffeen Lake area. It's a state park. It's about a 100-acre state park with a huge lake in it. So I'm an avid ginseng hunter, so I was testing out the area, so I'd park in the state park and I'd travel through the state park to the woods I wanted to go to, because you can't really hunt ginseng in a state park. But I parked my vehicle there because it was a nice place to park, had good parking areas there. So when I parked my truck there the first day, so I was going through the woods and I seen this tent that was all smashed down on the ground. It looked like maybe somebody got in a hurry and left it. I was like, that's a really nice tent. So I was like, it was one of the Coleman. It was green and white, real nice looking tent. But I walked up to it, it had this awful smell to it. Like, I was like, is there like a dead person under here or something? And I was kind of scared to look in there, because it wasn't together, it was just flat on the ground. It looked like it had just been there for years, but the tent was in really good shape. So I picked it up to kind of like see where this awful smell was coming from. And there was nothing under it, and it was like, there wasn't nothing on top of it either. So I drug it out of the woods, put it in my truck. I was like, man, that's too nice a tent just to leave there. But I noticed there was like probably a pile, maybe 4 or 5 turtle shells laying there. It was white. They'd been there for a long time. But that wasn't where the smell was coming from. So I put the smelly tent in the back of my truck, and I was like, I'll just power wash when I get home and just, and keep it. But there wasn't no poles or nothing with it or anything, so I just thought maybe it blew off in the woods somehow, and, So I took it home, power washed it, and couldn't get the smell out of it, so I was like, heck with this, I just threw it away in the trash. So as soon as I got back to the truck to put the tent in there, I went back to the woods, and as I was walking through the woods, I heard a huge tree fall. Like, it was just, you just heard kind of like popping noise, and then all of a sudden, it was a nice day out, it wasn't even windy or anything. And I just heard it like just pop and then crunch, and it fell over. So I was like, and I said to myself, the tree fell. And I was like, well, I said to myself, well, I guess they do make noise when you're in the woods. So, it's kind of a weird thing, but I didn't go investigate the tree, because I just thought, this tree fell over. So it wasn't no big deal. So then I continued on to the place I was going to do my ginseng hunting, and I was standing by there was a cove, like in the woods, and that cove's off into, and there's a little part of the lake goes into that little cove area. So I was standing there, and then all of a sudden, splash into the little cove area. It was like a huge splash noise. It's like a bowling ball hit the water. So I was like, man, that was a great big fish that I've never even heard of a fish that big hitting the water. Or it was a big turtle or something hit the water, or I was looking for like a branch or something in the water, but I didn't see nothing. But it just sounded like a great big sounded to me like a bowling ball or something. It just hit the water, like thunk and just splash. So I was like, I know what it was. At the time, I didn't put none of this together. There would be a Bigfoot or anything throwing anything at me because I didn't actually see it going through the air. But I was just standing right there, and it did splash right by me. Mm-hmm. So when I continued on to my spot where I was going, and so I got to the little cove area, and I smelled this awful, like the tent smell. Smelled kind of like a horrible stench.
Like a sewer?
And then I was looking around. Yeah, kind of like just a dead body smell, like a dead person. Mm-hmm. You would smell like a real bad odor. But I was looking around for a dead deer or something on the ground. I was like, is there a dead deer around here somewhere? Because I was in kind of like some itchweed, and it was kind of like tall, about knee high. But I couldn't see anything, or nothing was laying around or anything. No vultures or did I see anything like that either, which is kind of strange because usually it'd be like, birds circling around the area. It wasn't nothing like that either. And then I'm like looking over a little cove area, and then I heard this great big, like, it sounded like a bull. I mean, to me, it sounded like I'm like, why is there a bull out here in the woods? I mean, I thought maybe something broke loose from some farm somewhere, and it basically ended up in that little fence line up there. But I didn't want to go look at it because it sounded like it sounded like a big bull, but not exactly like a bull. So I didn't want to really, I just kind of like continued on where I was going. So I came back, and then that was pretty much a couple of little odd things happened the rest of that day, but I just basically wrote it off as nothing, no big deal. So I went back, I left. It was getting late in the evening. So the next day I come back, it was a decent day, but it was like a little bit cloudy. So I called my girlfriend because she dropped me off because that day she needed the truck to go do some stuff. Matter of fact, for the next couple of days, she needed the vehicle to go do some running. I needed her to go pick up some stuff. So I just had her drop me off. I said, well, just pick me up at the cemetery. It's down the road. It's, where she dropped me off before. And it's probably an old cemetery, probably a 200-year-old cemetery. It's like 1850. And the one I read was like 1920. It was like old, basically abandoned cemetery. But it's a good meeting place. So just meet me there, I said, pick me up there. So I traveled through the woods. I was traveling through the woods, and then I was looking around. Of course, I got to my little area. And all of a sudden, I heard this great big loud humming noise. Like I could not locate it where it was coming from. But I just heard it everywhere. I'm like, is that like a four-wheeler loud buzzing, humming sound that just came from everywhere? And I was like, what is that? Because I was basically in the middle of no woods. There wasn't even a road by. And I never could locate what it was, but it was just kind of like it just stayed there for at least 15, 20 minutes. And then all of a sudden, I was basically, seemed to me like I was asleep on my feet. Because I was like, I would just stand in there for some odd reason. And it was nice out, and then all of a sudden it just became real cloudy and really just windy and just bad weather. So I was like, was I just sleeping on my feet? Because when I came to, I kind of like jerked my head, and I was looking around like, was I just sleeping on my feet for some odd reason? So I was like, I just called my girlfriend. I was like, I don't know if I'm getting sick or something, or there's something buzzing around the woods. She even heard on the phone. She's like, what is that noise? I was like, but anyway, that day was pretty much, and then I heard hoot owls. Actually, that was the first day when I got there, or when I first got there. I heard like hoot owls like hooting at each other, and it was broad daylight. I'm like, I've never heard that before. And it sounded like they was just, back and forth. It was the middle of the daytime, which is another strange thing. But the day 3 that I was there, I was coming through the woods, headed to the same spot areas because there's a lot of ginseng in that area. So I was like cleaning it out basically 3 days. It took me about 3 days to do it. So I was in between the woods and the little cove area, and I was standing there, and in the corner of my eye, I seen something move. So I was like, what? I mean, it just kind of like flashed on the side of my little peripheral there. And we don't have bears or wolves or anything like that in the woods in central Illinois. There's no predators really at all. You might see a deer, maybe a turkey once in a while, and small bobcat and coyotes, but this definitely wasn't no coyote. And when I seen it, it kind of like didn't even care if I was there. It kind of like just, and I was probably 15 feet, 20 feet from it, and it just kind of like without much of noise at all, it went down this little cove area, and I was looking at it, I was like, what is that thing? I was like, I couldn't figure out what it was because it was on all four. It was crawling through the woods, and it was like, and it just totally just didn't hardly make any sound at all. I went down the ravine area, went up it, and just disappeared. Like it just vanished right when it got into like a little thicket there. So I was like, and it was like pretty good size. I would say I was thinking there's no wolves. I mean, it's bigger than if there's going to be a wolf, it'd be bigger than a wolf. And I could see the fur and everything through the sunlight was coming through it. And it was real shiny coat, silver and gray in color. But I couldn't make it didn't have a tail on it or a head that I could make out, like no ears or snout. It was just shaggy. So I was like, I don't know what that was, but it definitely wasn't scared of me, at all. It just seemed like it just didn't even care. I thought, was this thing going to try to like cut me off in front? Is it going to try to circle me? So I didn't, because I had no weapon or nothing like that. And so I just kind of decided at that point, I was like, if this thing has got other things with it and it's going to try to cut me off, I don't really want to, run across this thing. I wasn't particularly scared of it, but, it wasn't worried about me one bit. So I was kind of that worried me a little bit. So I basically just cut right out of the woods, right to a clearing. And then I walked to the cemetery where my girlfriend was going to meet me at. And I called her and told her to come pick me up. And the whole time I was in there that day, I felt this weird, like, something was watching me, or, I just felt this uneasy, feeling that you just feel somebody was there. But I didn't see anything.
So you think you got a glimpse of a Sasquatch possibly just because of the coat and the shiny fur, and it seemed unusual?
Yeah, how big it was.
Okay.
Yeah, and how big it was, because I've been ginseng for 30 years and was never seen anything that big or anything. Even I've never even really seen a coyote in the woods, but I know it wasn't a coyote, and basically whatever it was pretty good size. But like I said, it went through the woods without hardly making a sound at all. And I'm like, that's what kind of threw me off. I'm like, that thing is not really it just kind of smoothly went through the little cove area without even hardly any effort at all. And anyway, so she met me at the cemetery to pick me up, because I basically, whatever that thing was, like I said, I didn't know if it was trying to cut me off or, if it was something dangerous, but I didn't feel like I was in any danger at all. But, so she met me there, and I had ginseng seeds on me, so I go back and plant them at the end of the day. So I was like, well, I went to the cemetery, and then, again, I got this uneasy feeling when I went to plant them in that area that there was something still there. I mean, I just kept looking around like it just felt strange that, but I didn't actually see anything that day. But I mean, as far as that at that moment, but and that was pretty much the end of the third day. So the encounters the things that happened to me after I watched, videos from the first time I watched it was during the pandemic. Was that How to Hunt guy, or Steve How to Hunt, because he was basically talking about Bigfoot. I was like, everything that he talks about is everything pretty much that happened to me those 3 days.
When you went to that parking lot, was there any gates that were shut at the state park?
No, they don't have any gates there at all. It's pretty much, it's not a huge state park, but they have areas for like compound shooting, and they have some little areas where you grill out and stuff. But on the other side of the park, it's pretty much just trails and woods and, just everything. But I did run into what I think, now looking at it, was this little area that looked like a you ever seen them phone booths like areas, or like a photo booth?
Mm-hmm.
It's in the middle of the woods. It's real like a little thicket. So, it's like it looked like it had like a little doorway. Like, and I walked in it, and I was like looking around in it. I was like, this is kind of like a little cubby hole something made, and you could tell something broke limbs over and broke them, and like there was like a bunch of limbs in there broken down to where it was just made like a little. It looked to me like a little cubby hole, but it wasn't little. It was probably about 2 or 3 of me could fit in there, and it looked like it was stomped down, and it was right by a deer path. So, like I said, I didn't have any idea. I mean, I looked at me, somebody was making like a little spot for them to hide out in or something like that, but I didn't have any idea, who did it or why they did it.
Yeah.
But I got theories now on what the stuff that happened. When I heard the tree fall, it was a couple of days later. I actually was in that area and I seen it. It was not the tree that fell was like not down the hill. It fell sideways of the hill. It kind of like was like it was just at a weird angle.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, after watching the videos and everything of yours and some other people's, I was like, one more if they push these trees over to hide, to hide behind.
Yeah, they certainly
for
do.
cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Because if this family, because I heard the big one up there sound like the bull, so that would have probably been the big Bigfoot, and the small one I seen crawling through the woods would have actually been like the younger one. I didn't know if I seen the mother or even heard the mother, but definitely the smell was twice. Like I said, the tent was so nasty that I just gave up on it, and because it was a very nice tent, but I just threw it in the trash because I was like I couldn't get the smell out of it. And if I'd known now what I known then, I probably would have collected hairs off of it maybe or fur off of it or something.
Yeah. Do you think the
But at the
Sasquatch
time,
tore down that tent, or do you think just somebody abandoned it?
I don't have any idea because there wasn't no poles with it. So I don't know if they drug it somewhere and used it to sleep on it, because you can tell something completely smashed it in the ground. It looked like it was, laid on.
Yeah. No, I just
Like I
seen
said,
the
there was
same
a
thing
pile of
at a state park, and I was wondering the same if it was like
yeah,
just
yeah,
bums or like somebody was camping out there
yeah,
and just abandoned everything, because there's literally 4 tents and one of them was smashed to the ground, and we just thought it was
yeah,
unusual.
yeah. This is unusual because this is a really nice state park. Usually, uh, travelers or vagrants or whatever, they'll usually come through that area because it is a pristine, nice park. It's a beautiful lake and has a lot of coves. And I'm not saying they wouldn't, but to me, it just looked out of place. And it was a super nice tent that somebody would abandon it because there wasn't no poles there with it or nothing. It was just the tent only. But it had one of the poles with it, one of the things, but it was like crushed. It was basically broke in several spots.
Yeah.
But it just to me it looked, because I was kind of worried there was something dead underneath it, because I was like, did somebody die? And then the tent fell over top of them, and because when I picked the tent up, I was like expecting to see something, bad, if anything. But there literally was nothing there at all. It was just like a flat ground, and I said, I don't know if it was abandoned there or they slept. It looked to me like something was laying on it. I mean, it was that smashed down. I didn't know if deer liked it or something. At that point, I had no idea that it'd be a Sasquatch there laying on it, but I could see why they would lay on it because it keeps you off the cold ground. And the spot I found, it was it was up in like a little hill area that you can kind of like oversee pretty much that area right there, the little state park area.
Yeah. Yeah, it could
So,
have been. Do you think that humming sound made you feel the way you did?
no, I don't know. I mean, I basically, because I was hearing that buzzing noise, and I was like, because usually we get like, you got the park rangers that come through on their 4-wheelers and stuff, and they're always asking for your ginseng license and make sure you're not hunting in the state park, but you can go walk through there, if you're. But the area that I heard in was it was the boundaries of the state park and my woods I go to. But it didn't sound like a 4-wheeler, but yet it sounded like it was popping noise and a humming noise.
Yeah,
And it
that
was
is
like,
interesting.
I couldn't, concerned where it was coming from. I was like, where's this thing coming from? And I can't remember if I went out like on my feet before or after, but I definitely was stunned for a moment, evidently, or something, because I woke up, like I felt like I woke up, and I just spun my head around like I was looking for something. I went, shit. I mean, I actually used a cuss word and went, I spun my head around for some odd reason, and I was like, did I just fall asleep on my feet? You know, I was like, I felt, that was just weird. And I did tell my girlfriend about it. She's like, yeah, I heard, like, because I was calling her, and it was like, it was coming in and out. And I said, there's something out of the woods. I don't know what it is. I hear it, and I need you to come pick me up, I told her. So, and I said, I didn't know if I was getting sick or something, because I just literally, and I didn't know how long I even stood there. I mean, I definitely was standing there and I just woke up, it felt like. So I don't know if it's some sort of, it was, the humming noise made me, I don't know what it was really. And to this day, I could never explain it. At that time, I definitely didn't have any idea what was going on, because I didn't even believe in any kind of Sasquatch stuff at all. I didn't totally disagree with it, but I just didn't think that, it was actually true. But going through all that, I basically now I'm 100% believer that there's definitely something there. And after what I've seen, which I've never seen before, and heard and smelled, that was to me, and from what I see on your channel and everything, is definitely some sort of encounter. And I would say, as big as the woods area that is, I would say as a family lived there, and they've been living there for years, because those shells I've seen, the pile of turtle shells was white. So that means they've probably been there for years.
Yeah. Do you think the Sasquatch seek out the ginseng?
I don't know if they do or not. I've heard people saying from watching the past couple of years that I think they was more curious what I was doing out there, because there was times I'd be out in the woods and then everything goes silent. Like, I even told my girlfriend, I was like, I think the woods is actually starting to like accept me, because I hear no birds, no squirrels, nothing. It was totally silent. But when I go out in the woods ginseng hunting, I usually go by myself. I'm not armed with anything. And I'm not too sure they wasn't just real at peace with me and saying, this guy's out here digging this root, and they was probably watching me, what I was doing. And I think they was getting so comfortable, evidently, that, their little one was running around not too far from me. But I probably blocked him in, too, because it was between, I was in one spot, and then the lake was right there, and he was coming through the middle. So he's kind of like in between, me and the lake. But if you ask me if he didn't move, I wouldn't have seen him, because, I mean, the only reason I seen him because it moved through the woods, and I'm telling you, it just went through there like it's just real accustomed to the woods. The way that it just went through there like was nothing. Like it just made easy work of it. And it was kind of a thick little area where it wasn't that nice there. It's kind of like weedy, nasty, and had itchweed and all that stuff. But I could clearly see the fur or the hair off of it was like pretty long and shiny. It's like, I've never seen something so clean and shiny. I mean, it looked like it was just been groomed.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean.
But
that's probably what it was, man.
Yeah, I couldn't. Yeah, it had no smell to it or nothing. I couldn't smell anything off of that thing. It was just like, and it definitely wasn't nothing I've ever seen before, because it had no tail on it. I was like, and Sandy was saying, my girlfriend was like, maybe it's a wolf. I was like, they don't have wolves in Illinois. I mean, if they traveled through, that would be very, very weird, because Central Illinois has nothing like that. I've been doing ginseng hunting for 30 years, and I've never even seen nothing like that, ever.
Mm-hmm.
I've never actually heard a tree fall over either. I mean, I'm sure they do, but and the tree that I seen that few days later when I went through that area was a totally leaf green tree that, was just turning colors. So it was like mid-September, almost October, which is another thing I think, and looking back, is do the Bigfoots get out of the woods and go to the state parks when, the hunting season, to take their little ones there to, hide from the deer hunters and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, people don't live there, so that'd be the perfect place for them to go, especially at nighttime. It'd just be a nice, quiet spot to hang out.
They have a caretaker there he's there every couple of years. He's like a a caretaker, game warden, if you will. But he has a cabin back in there, but he's hardly ever there. But and the cemetery is just not too far from there. There's cemeteries at least. Well, some of the stones I read was 1850, and the last one that basically I think this person has been buried was 1920, and it has an old wrought iron gate around it completely, and the road to it's actually gone. It's just now it's just overgrown grass and trees around, pretty much growed it in. But
yeah, that is interesting.
It's a good meeting spot, but it seemed like I don't. It was really just I got this uneasy feeling when I was there mostly than anywhere. I mean, I just felt like something was. I didn't feel like that I was being threatened or anything. I just felt like you just felt something was looking at you, and that's what I felt.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have anything else to add to your story? Any other experiences? Anything else?
Yeah, I've never had any other nothing that is pretty much boring. 30 years of hunting ginseng, other than those 3 days there. I mean,
yeah.
And like I said, I was like, because when I heard your channel and everybody talking about it, I was like, wait a minute, and I put two and two together, and I was like, all that stuff happened to me those 3 days is exactly what happens when you run into a family of Sasquatches.
Mm-hmm.
The smell, when that bull sound like a bull. Because what else am I going to say it is? I didn't know it was a Bigfoot, but you could literally just feel it. Like it sounded like the bull was like not very far from me, 15, 20 feet. Because they just kind of like hit you like, you hear them subwoofers in cars. It felt like that. But I was like, that's the strangest sound. Because the bull I've heard before, but this one here just did not sound. It sounded close to it, but did not sound, I was like, that's a sick bull or something. That's what I thought to myself. There's something wrong with that bull. But I didn't want nothing to do with it because I was like, if it broke loose and was up on that little cove area, and I didn't want to, I didn't want to run into it.
Yeah.
But thinking back, that's probably the male Sasquatch, warning me. And they probably thought, man, this guy is not very smart because he's out here walking around the woods and we're pushing trees over and we're yelling at him and he ain't doing nothing but looking around going, rock throwing, and I'm just looking around like, what's all that? I didn't know. If I'd known, I probably would have been getting out of there pretty quick, or at least been, looking around. I probably would have got my phone out and started recording things, but that would have been really good if I would have did that. But again, I had no reason to.
Yeah, they probably thought you had no fear of them.
Right, they probably thought this guy's starving to death because look at him, he's skinny, he's walking around. I'm 6 foot, 6'1". I weigh probably 190 to 200, but to them, I'm pretty sure that's puny. They're probably thinking, this guy's out here digging through the ground to eat some roots, And they probably thought, and he ain't scared of nothing evidently, but I had no weapon or nothing, and maybe they just didn't, they wasn't fearing me at all because they probably see me as no threat. I had no firearm on me, and if they're that smart, they probably could see somebody with a gun, and that might make them, And I've seen some of the videos where I watched people was go out hunting and stuff, slapping trees and knocking and stuff. But you don't know what that means. I mean, that might say, "Hey, I want to fight." Who knows what not tree knocking means if you don't do it the way they do it. That's my take on it anyway. So really, I don't know. But I did hear some tree knocking there, but nothing that I would basically, say that was something pound on something. I thought, what is a distant neighbor maybe put some roofing on a house or something. I didn't, but it wasn't continuous. It was a couple smacks and a couple taps, and that's about all I heard.
Yeah. Okay.
The hoot owls were the strangest thing. The hoot owls, when I got there that second day and I heard them chattering back and forth and in the daylight, I was like, that's kind of strange, but.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it could have been them. It's hard to say. I have heard owls in the day, and it's a rare thing.
But like I said, me being a ginseng hunter for that many years, and all the things that happened in those 3 days, I'm like, this, is strange at the least. I mean, it definitely. And I'm watching your guys' videos and the Sasquatch stuff. I was like, yeah, that's clearly I've had everything that happens to somebody that has encounters with Bigfoot, other than actually witness the male or the female big one. I definitely seen the small one because, like I said, it had no tail and it had really no head, because when I got to the little cove area, it was pointing, towards where it was going. So I couldn't make out, you know, any kind of features on its front area. But it didn't have enough. If it had been, a wolf or a dog, it would have been, I would have seen some ears and a tail. But I've seen neither one of those. Which I guess if baby Sasquatch or a small one wouldn't have. I don't think they have tails, but I don't know. Yeah, you said you had a few encounters. If you don't mind me asking about one of yours. Do you have any?
I've had several sightings, and they all happened around 2019, going into 2020. At least a majority of them. But one, I was foraging for mushrooms, and I was looking for chanterelle mushrooms, and when I was walking back towards my place, I thought I noticed something to my left, and I kind of kept walking, took a few more steps, and then I heard something again. When I looked over, a Sasquatch had gotten up and started walking off into the woods, and I got to look at him for a good, 5 to 8 seconds. But this one was pretty coal black. I mean, he was dark, and even his eyes were black. He had a round head, and he had a few white spots on his body. But I did have an experience like yours, but I this one I actually never talk about, just because it was later on after I started the channel, and I had the GoPro out, so it's another one of those stories where it's just like I saw it, but I didn't film it. But there was like this old structure in a conservation area in between like a bunch of ridges, like down in a holler, and it's just it's solid woods, and it's kind of behind a shooting range. But I was walking back through there one day, and I found these really cool rocks, and I traveled up the creek, and I found this spring, and the spring led me to this structure. And I was walking closer to the structure, and I noticed something walking through the structure, because it's like built into like this side hill, and something like walked out of the woods into that structure, and like didn't realize I was there. And by the time I noticed it and it noticed me, all I saw was like this clump of like grayish white hair dip underneath the rocks. I don't know what it was, but it seemed like, I don't know how to explain it. If you ever seen like a really big turtle on the river when it just slips off a log into the water, that's kind of what it looked like. What's that?
Wow. Like just goes in there real smooth, like a turtle. They don't really flop in the water too much. They just disappear in the water.
Yeah. It was kind of like that. Or I don't know if you ever seen Todd Standing video where he films something up in a canyon and it just ducks down and it disappears.
Yeah,
that's kind of how it was, but just a gray color. But I can't say if it was a Sasquatch, but I wish I would have been looking.
Yeah, it would have been perfect. But the times like I said, if you don't know what you're basically encountering or doing, it's hard to. If I took a picture of that or got a video of that thing crawling through the wood, that'd been awesome. But I'm gonna go back there this year, probably in about mid-October, about the same time, which was my birthday. So I'm going to go in there about that same time, and this time I'm going to do the same thing I always do, just go in there, and I just put like a pinch of Kodiak chew, which I don't really chew that much, but in the woods for some reason I like to chew, and then I go sit around and just look for ginseng. And I'm real super quiet, and I don't carry a gun with me or anything, because I really don't need to. Even if I run across Sasquatch, I'll probably just, maybe I'll offer an apple or something. I don't know. But I'm going to probably be more aware of my surroundings. And then if I do see one, maybe, I don't know if they don't mind recording, I might just pull out my cell phone, or maybe even wear a small GoPro, like you said. And then if I do find something or record something, I'll definitely text you back and say, hey, call me. I got some interesting footage, possibly, or sounds.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm a firm believer now, and I totally, like 30 years, I was like, there's no Bigfoots out here. I've never seen nothing like that. I didn't call people crazy because I didn't think that was my place. I was just totally, did not believe in them. So I was like I said, I just never really even paid much attention on even the YouTube. I never really watched much YouTube other than the pandemic. Then I got into YouTube stuff, and now I watch it every day. It's like YouTube is I don't even watch regular TV. I watch your channel and a couple other channels, but a lot of YouTube stuff. which is actually pretty neat because this is way before my time. Back when I grew up, we didn't have cell phones or we didn't have nothing. We had nothing. Wasn't even no video games hardly other than Atari. But I'm definitely a firm believer now, and whatever I see now, I'm going to be more, alert on, what it might be. Which I didn't feel threatened one bit. I felt pretty easy, and I felt pretty. Even if like I said, the Sasquatch thought this guy is crazy or he's not scared of one bit, but I didn't know what was going on. So even if it happens again, I'm still going to kind of like act the same way. I'm just going to go through there and forage for. And I don't know if what Bigfoots eat as far as plants go, but ginseng would probably be. I don't know if do you ever hunt ginseng or you ever anything like that?
No, I never have. I've looked it up, but I've just never seen it in the woods.
It's awesome. It's if you're in the right areas, you can also make. I mean, it's very profitable too on ginseng. Sometimes it goes up to $700 a pound, $800, $1,000 a pound. So I've actually made on a good day, I made a couple $1,000 on a good day. But that doesn't happen very often. You got to be to hunt ginseng. You got to be really. You got to know where it grows. It don't grow in just certain areas. It grows. I mean, it grows like it's got to be real ferns, all like ferns, dark area, mostly hills. You don't really see it on flat, sunny areas. So, and it's hard to dig. So you got to know what you're doing, because some of them hills get, you're 100 feet, 200 feet down. So you got to be able to traverse, you got to be able to know what you're doing as far as not getting yourself hurt. But I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what they eat as far as that goes. But I think they basically was watching me doing all that digging. And then basically it was probably just within, sight of me doing and watching me. Looking back now at it, I was like, evidently it was around me quite a bit because I did, like I said, I walked past and I was like, what's that stench? I mean, it was like horrible. I mean, I wasn't used to it because I was like, I smelled dead things in the woods before. And usually you'll see buzzards or, you'll see, but I hardly ever see anything dead in the woods anyway. But this smelled like fish, a dead person or a dead body or something or a dead deer, but it smelled horrible. Like, and I was looking around and just as I did that, it was like that big old bull sound was like just over top of me, over the ridge there. So again, I was like, but the weeds were probably knee high. So I really couldn't see too well in the woods if there was anything laying around dead, but I never did see nothing. But it definitely smelled just like that tent did. It smelled like a nasty, rotten smell, So bad to the point where I tried to power because it was a super nice tent. I was like, that's a super nice tent for somebody just to discard it and throw it away. So I was like, I wasn't a big camper, but I was like, I'd like to, they probably got pissed when I took their bed away from them. Because I tried to power wash and clean it when I got home. I did. I put it out in the sun, let it dry. Then I got off work the next day and came home. I was like, then I picked it up. I was like, hey, it still stinks. I just threw it in the trash. I was like, I can't keep power washing this thing. It ain't worth it. So.
Yeah. Okay.
But I definitely like your channel. It's one of the best channels I believe out there. So it seems to be right points, and you guys, and it seems like it's most of the people on there are telling true encounters. I mean, there's no fame and fortune in this. Nobody's going to get a fortune out of telling their story, nor mention it. Most people think you're crazy when you tell it. So there's really no reason for somebody to, there's no glory in it. But to me, I think it's important that somebody talks about it, and even like your channel is really important that that gets people like me to come out and have somewhere to tell the story to. Because otherwise, you're just telling a couple people, and they look at you like, okay, yeah, I'm sure you did,
Yeah.
Even if somebody told me that, I'd be like, okay, but what the government, I believe, is just basically doesn't let you know that because I think they want to keep people in the state parks. They want to keep the funds going through as far as, fishing and hunting and all that. And if everybody knew there was great big, meeting Sasquatch out there, they might think twice about going out there,
Yeah, I agree. And I appreciate you for watching the channel.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the good channels. And like I said, I love watching it now. Like I said, it's ever since that happened, and I found out basically what it was that happened to me that day. I've been really curious. There was usually a week go by where I didn't think about that, and think about the the Sasquatch theory of actually them exist. And if the Native Americans call it the Sasquatch, which is actually that's where the name comes from, I guess. That they have cave drawings of it and drawings of it, then they didn't have YouTube channels and tell anybody. They basically just told they're next to people next to the relation. So but they clearly ran across them as well.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Greg. Well, I want to thank you for telling your story here on the channel and taking the time to contact me and share it with everyone.
If I have any more anything going on again, I'll get a hold of you again, and this time maybe I'll have some actual recordings and some video.
Yeah, that'd be
cool. I appreciate
it. Yeah.
Let me tell my story.
It's no problem. Definitely be safe when you go back out there, and just be aware of your surroundings. I know when you're looking for mushrooms or ginseng, you're focused more on the ground, but yeah, keep an eye out, man.
Yeah, mushrooms are kind of like, that's in April, isn't it? April, May.
I think year round, even the winter, certain mushrooms grow.
Oh, yeah, certain. Yeah, like what do they call that, chicken in the woods or something like that, or
yeah, there's a bunch of them. I think like the oyster mushrooms or something. But
right.
Yeah,
I think some of the best mushrooms, I believe, are one of the like I said, the ones in April, May. I think.
Yeah, like the morels, all that.
The morels and the sponge mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which I did see a couple years ago. There's a huge patch of like them sponge mushrooms, but they was dried up completely. But there was monsters. There's like great big mushrooms, like probably 30 or 40 of them out there on this tree that basically all the bark fell off of it, and there was like tons of mushrooms all around, but they was all dried up and dead. I was like, man, if I'd have found those, about 2 more weeks ago or 2 weeks prior to this, that'd been a big patch.
Yeah, they're not around for too long.
Yeah, because they said that was great big, but they was pretty much dried up to the point where you couldn't do nothing with them. But I was like, that's a shame.
Yeah.
But anyway, I appreciate it much, and I'm gonna probably go back out this October and have a look around and see if maybe I'm gonna go to the same spot even. So maybe they'll still be there. Maybe they move on through. I don't know, but like I said, it's definitely like I said, I didn't see any tree structures or any kind of like, but I didn't really look for it either. So maybe this time I'll go out and look for some strange things out there.
Yeah. Now that you've listened to other people's experiences, you might find that same stuff now that you're tuned in and you know what to look for.
Yeah, because that's what these channels help out. They basically make people aware of, because if I'd have known then, that would have been, I might have even had more of an encounter, because I would have probably whipped out my cell phone or my GoPro or something, and and got more evidence. But and probably sat still, and maybe they walked the same time that I walked, and I would have never heard them. But next time I'm just gonna totally sit still and make small movements in the spots, and then see if I can maybe even bring some apples. Like I said, I'll go out there for 3 days, put some apples out there, and put them up behind the tree. See if I can get some video footage or something.
Yeah. Yeah,
but I don't believe it's dangerous at all. In my point, I just thought, I think they wanted to get me or do something bad to me, they could have done it very easily. I mean, it would have been probably, because I was totally, dumb. I didn't have any idea there was any of those out there. So if they want to grab me or do something bad to me, they could have did it in an instant. So evidently they was trying to warn me, saying, hey, we're in the area, and maybe my little one's here, and pushing a tree over to hide behind it, or and maybe at the third day they comforted enough to let the little one to go walk around me. I don't know, but I don't feel like that I was a threat. I don't think they thought I was a threat, and I didn't feel. Of course, I didn't know they was there, but now looking back, of course, it was definitely, I was basically right in the middle of them.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And it's hard to say if they'll still be around. They move around a lot, but yeah, definitely let me know if you run into them again, and contact me now that you know my number.
All right, I definitely will do that. But another question: do some people say when you had encountered with them, they seem like you are connected with them or something like that? I was watching a few channels where, that if you're coming through the area, they know you're there or something like that. I don't know if that's actually accurate or not, but I mean,
Yeah, I've heard that a lot, and I've had some strange experiences, but that's too hard to really gauge. It could just be coincidence, or they're all over the place.
yeah, like I said, it's just I guess it's all in your belief and your mindset. I guess that's just, I mean, that's the way it is.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Okay, Greg. Well, I'll let you go for the evening, and I appreciate your time. And just shoot me a
Thank you very much.
message if you run into anything else or need any help.
I sure will. I'll definitely keep in contact with you. So this is kind of a new thing for me, so it's quite interesting.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, good luck with the ginseng hunting, and we'll talk soon, my friend.
To do that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. You have a good one,
Have a
Greg,
good day.
and take care.
I will. Thank you.
Bye. All right, we're calling Charlie now, so this is a whole new person, whole different area, and encounter.
Are you from Sasquatch Theory?
Yeah, yeah. My name is Miguel.
Yes.
I'm from Sasquatch Theory.
Nice to meet you, man. You do a good job. I've heard about you from Fred Roll.
Okay, yeah, I know Fred from Alaska.
Yeah, he really opens people's eyes on the terror if they're going to believe it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
My first thing happened to me was in '79. Me and a buddy of mine, I was laid off from Ford. I just been in the Army, and then I was in a Ford plant a couple years. And we got split up at 2:30 in the morning. We were hitchhiking to Florida in 1979. It was in July, the second week, and there was a heat wave up in Ohio. And I'm like, well, shit, it's going to get real warm in Florida if there's a heat wave in Ohio. We hitchhiked anyway. We got split up 2:30 in the morning on the damn bridge over the Ohio River and Indiana line. I heard this boom, boom. I'm like, what the hell is that? And I just got a backpack, maybe a pocket knife. You know, we're traveling real light, minimal. And I looked down on the curve of the river, and it was a full moonlit night, clear visibility, and I seen some giant ass creatures smacking the shit out of a tree with a big log, and it just sent shivers up my spine. You know, I was full of testosterone. I just got out of the Army and worked at Ford. I was a badass youngster, you know, because it was right before I went to aviation school. Anyways, I immediately, I'm like 240 feet. He's about eighth of a mile. I can see it. It can see me. I'm out of here. And I just took off. But it just ruined my life for being alpha hunter. I started tracking and trapping animals when I was a little kid, you know, things like a giant basket out in the woods. And I've seen all kinds of other shit. I heard the screams and seen red eyes, but I never put it together, you know.
Yeah.
But
what did the creatures look like?
It looked like a giant Chewbacca. You know, I didn't stick around for bullshit details. It was hard to assess.
Mm-hmm.
It was bigger around than the log, and the log it had. And that stump, they're just huge. What I don't get is how you can still, when that happens to you, these sightings, you can still smell the air of that's been 40 something, 50 years, 40 something years ago, you know, 79, 21, 23. That's been 44 years ago that this happened. And I can still just smell the air like this frozen time, you know. And that's what screws me up. Plus, knowing you're not alpha predator unless you got a 50 cal and two other guys with you, you know.
Yeah.
But when I was sitting right here in 2016, I just come back from Phoenix, Arizona, and I was right here in Hardin County, Tennessee. And I hear the coyotes going off. You hear yip, yip, yip. And then all of a sudden you hear one, right? It got twisted half. You know it just got killed. And so then I hear that yell, scream, roar, and my hair all turns to wire. And I know where it was because I deer hunted the shit out all this property within a 5-mile area. And then I heard that trashing of the trees like the dozers coming through here. But it did make sense because the brush isn't that thick. And I went over there to see. I'm like, I heard that, you know. But anyways, it comes across the road here and it smacks that house 2 houses down. And then it smacks this house next to my brother's property before his house burnt down. And so then I'm sneaking around the corner of the house. I'm like, I don't see what the hell this is, if it's here or not. And I got a cell phone in my hand, and I'm thinking, wow, I need a flashlight and a camera, man. And it was a nice Windows phone, but you just don't connect, Your brain just goes on vacation when you see this shit. Mine did anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And did you have more encounters after you seen that at nighttime?
Right. When I snuck around the corner of the here, was silhouetted where my brother's back porch was. And my mom and my brother used to throw food out here all the time. Well, everybody does, because the animals are just getting the scraps, You don't want it. And so I just throw the animals the scraps and burn the paper, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Minimal garbage and going on that you got to deal with.
Yeah.
But I'm going up there to Alaska because I had aviation background and I want to fly up there.
Yeah, that'd be the only way to get around in Alaska.
Fred really, he is so well spoken. He is super smart, man. For a youngster, well, he's not a youngster. He's 40. He was 46, so he's like 48 probably now.
Mm-hmm.
But I really, he is so well spoken, and it's just, that man he's been busy up there doing all kinds of stuff, and that's the way I've been all my life. I've done everything I could get into, man. Harley school, airplane school, been in the Ford plant, steel mills, you name it. I'm a tradesman. I learned all the trades that I could learn.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm rebuilding motorcycles and chainsaws, and I'm going up there. I'm trading in all Harley's motorcycles for 4-wheelers and sleds,
Yeah.
I'd like to get with them and take a load of batteries or whatever they need up there, but it's like taking sand to the beach. You don't take a Harley to Florida, to sell. But
have you had any more experiences after that encounter? Or was that recent?
At the end of my property, there was an orange orb. This was like 6 months ago. There was an orange orb, not even that long, like 4 months ago, that I seen a little bigger than a basketball coming from over there, because there's a deer trail. And I know they followed the deer trail. And Sasquatch Chronicles has them from all the way. I'm on the Mississippi-Alabama line by the Tennessee River. And so they follow the river, and the deer follow the river. And so that's their trail. But I have a 17-inch print in the yard here and a 14-inch print. And I used to take this trail and walk back in the woods all the time. I'd just take a machete because the snakes. But, I'm used to that. Anyways, I started to go through there, and I got this overwhelming dread that said, you go back there, you ain't coming out. And my hair was just going crazy, turning to wire and shit. So I got my happy ass back up here on the deck, and I'm like, that's nuts. I've never been scared of shit in my life, And I go back down there the next day because one of the wolves got loose. So Indy, this blue-eyed wolf that my cousin had, and I go down there, and there's a swamp back there, and something has got in there, and I tried getting in that swamp before, and it's like chest deep of muck. You put your foot in there, and your boots stand, and you're barefoot. Anyways, it's full of damn those water moccasins and shit, and the beavers was real big ass beavers. Something went through there, and it just ripped. It got in that muck, and I don't know nothing in this state that can, as far as animals go. And there ain't no bear around here. We got panthers and cougars, but something got in there and ripped them damn beaver dens. It just ripped them up like it was shopping, you know. And but other than that, I ain't heard any yell, scream, roars. I hear yells in the distance over in Leapwood because there's a whole shitload of sightings around here, but people don't want to say nothing because of ridicule. I don't care. You can't unsee it, and you can kiss my ass. I can't. I never lie about nothing, you know. And I don't tell stories. I have events that happen in my life, you know. Like Fred. That's why he talks to people so much, because he wants that event straight. And I have more respect for nations, First Nations. It says it all in the name. They're the first nation here, you know? And that,
Absolutely.
I'm a quarter Cherokee. And I respect the hell out of Native Americans to the max, because they've always been true to life, you know? But
Yeah.
other than that, it's just the orb, the footprint, that yell, scream, roar, and then the trashing, and it's hiding up there. I was in the Smoky Mountains. I lived up there 5 years, and I heard that yell like a giant mountain lion was, you know, the screaming woman being murdered. And I heard that, and then I come out with a machete, and I could put my fist between those eyes, and I'm like, oh hell, that's the biggest damn cat around here so far, you know? And it's just, it went all over me. I eased my ass back inside. Yeah, I really respect how you've been doing this and let people, you know, just lay it out like it happened, you know, and you can tell people, man, when they're full of crap or not. I don't have any reason. I'm not after anything. I don't care if anybody knows it or not, you know. It's just that, like Scott, we lost Scott Carpenter,
Yeah. Yeah, that
and
was recent.
he wasn't that far from here. He's over in Oak Ridge. Well, on the other side of Nashville, he's like 4.5 hours from where I am now. But I lived not far from him before, and I know there's mega activity. And that damn dog man, I drove up to LBL, Land Between the Lakes, because it's just straight north of here, and being in West Tennessee. And I'll tell you, that creep factor is really, and that's before I even knew about the dog man that destroyed those people. Oh man, there are some horrendous uh, family killings and other people killings. A couple was killed there. They shredded that poor woman. Some kids was out making out in the woods, and they they just ripped that woman to shreds, man, like they were eating her alive. And he was dead automatically too. But that up there in Kentucky and that Land Between the Lakes, man, it's just creepy as hell. And they got all kinds of stuff they hid because of tourists. And following missing 411, David Paulides, I've been following him since he's come out with his second missing 411 book. And I bought one of those books, and I read it 2 times. And the things that they all have in common, all these common factors you put together, it's like the tips of their hair is hollow, and when they step into one environment to another, it's like a camouflage suit. You know, if you heard about that, about their hair being hollow.
Yeah, I've heard about it.
Well, you know, in like the Orientals around the turn of the 18th century, they were bringing all the Orientals here. And so, like on Sasquatch Crowns, a lot of them, they say it looked like they have Down syndrome. Well, that was from them kidnapping all them Orientals, and they got the mix in with that. But, you know, putting little things together, like one guy from Texas, he's a really, really good guy. And he even worked for NASA as an engineer. I'm trying to think of his name, but he had him and Bear, they had a wildcat, but they're in Texas a lot. And he said that one of those creatures slid under the water and went over a quarter mile underwater, and they still don't know how far it can swim underwater. I bet every one of them's different, you know. But
yeah, absolutely.
There's so much we don't know, and the more you learn, it leads to more questions.
Yeah. Well, Charlie, I appreciate your time and your willingness to share the encounter. And
yours also.
Yeah, it's no problem.
I appreciate you, man. You're doing a great job.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, and if you talk to Fred again, tell him I said hello.
I've never talked to him yet. I just don't want to cook up his time, but I'm heading up there, and I plan on giving him a call, thank him in person, man to man, because that Texas chicken shit to me. I'm an old timer, and I've just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Handshake is bond, and we're just man to man. You know, man up or get lost.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, Charlie. Well, it was a pleasure speaking to you, and
ditto. God bless.
Yeah, God bless, man.
I send people your way. I try to send people and get you guys' numbers up. You know, it's so.
Okay. Yeah, I appreciate it, and you have a good evening, and be safe out there, man.
Oh yeah, I ain't worried about me, but if anything else comes up, man, or if I get anybody else to get off their soapbox, then I'll send them your way.
All right, man. I appreciate it. You have a good one.
Ditto, bro.
Take
care. Bye.
All right. Thank you, Greg. And thank you, Charlie, for sharing your separate encounters. And it really means a lot to me. I don't know what was going on with the audio. I kept getting feedback, and it just sounded like I was talking into a tin can. But I didn't feel like I needed to do another interview just because there wasn't so much to their stories, and it was pretty quick and brief. But I wanted to talk to them nonetheless and just pick their brains, see what they thought. And they had some really good theories. Like, one person mentioned that maybe if you would knock to the Sasquatch, it could be a threat to them. Like, they see it as a threat. So that very well could be, and I never thought about it, because whenever I knocked that time at the river and that tree got pushed down and I got screamed at from behind me, I don't know, I never thought about that. And it could be very possible that if we knock to these creatures, that's a challenge to them. So yeah, I mean, I'm glad I talked to you guys, and it really brought the theories to the table. So I'm excited, and that's exactly what this channel is about. But yeah, I really appreciate both of you guys, and I appreciate all the listeners, the people who watch these videos all the way through, the people who were subscribed to the membership whenever I had it up, and all the people who donated to the PayPal in the past. You guys have really helped out the channel. I wouldn't have the gear that I have today if it wasn't for you guys. And yeah, I hope we can do that again in the future, just because things have been slow. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. Take care, everyone, and be safe.